In the whirlwind of political rhetoric and economic uncertainty, one thing is unmistakably clear: President Donald Trump is redefining how we think about policy. His approach, a chaotic, relentless weave, a tapestry of proposals, announcements, and promises that seem to appear out of nowhere, often in rapid succession. No detail too small, no idea too bold. From affordable housing to soaring gas prices, Trump insists he's got the answers. But here's the question: can he actually deliver? Or is this just another grandiose vision, lost in a haze of political ambition? In a world where the cost of living is rising and economic stability feels like a distant memory, Trump's rapid-fire proposals have raised more than a few eyebrows. And yet he continues, confident that this weaving of promises will somehow lead to a united economic solution. Is it brilliance or chaos, or perhaps something in between? As we dive deeper into the landscape he's creating, one thing is certain: Trump's economic vision isn't just about policies, it's about perception. And right now, he's the only one weaving that narrative. The world is grappling with rising costs, everything from housing to healthcare, energy to credit cards. For many Americans, the cost of living has become a pressing issue, yet the solutions remain elusive. Enter Donald Trump. In a time of economic turmoil, his proposals come fast and furious, each one seemingly more audacious than the last. At rallies, he speaks with certainty. "I do the weave," he declares, as if this unconventional strategy will somehow solve the very problems plaguing everyday Americans. But what is this weave? It's not just a buzzword. It's his method of connecting one idea to another, often with little detail, but with an unshakable belief that it all fits together. Housing, lower prices, just like that. Interest rates, he's got a plan. Gas prices, oil drilling in Venezuela is the answer. But can this patchwork of economic solutions actually work? Or is it just the kind of political showmanship we've come to expect from a leader who thrives on spectacle? While the rhetoric sounds convincing, the execution remains unclear. And yet Trump persists, crafting a narrative where his ideas will reshape the economic landscape, whether or not anyone knows how. Trump's economic strategies didn't just materialize overnight. They're the culmination of his leadership style, a blend of bravado, impulsivity, and an unwavering belief in his own vision. From his first days in office to his time away from the White House, Trump has made a name for himself by breaking norms, pushing boundaries, and creating a brand of economics that defies tradition. This weaving approach, as he calls it, is rooted in his long-standing view of the economy. It's a system that can be bent to the will of the individual, one that doesn't require consensus, but rather sheer willpower. Trump's style, his weave, is chaotic, yes, but it's also undeniably effective in one respect: it keeps the media and public engaged. Every new announcement, every bold proposal adds another thread to his ongoing economic narrative. Yet this approach isn't without precedent. Trump's career in real estate and television has always been about creating spectacle, building empires in the public eye, not in the traditional boardroom. So when it comes to his economic plans, it's no surprise that he would weave them into a story for mass consumption. But are these proposals rooted in sound economic principles, or are they simply designed to grab attention and feed the public's hunger for change? As we look at his past economic moves, the pattern is clear. Trump's solutions are often as much about perception as they are about reality. In the first days of 2025, Trump launched a proposal that seemed to come out of nowhere: a ban on institutional investors buying single-family homes. At first glance, it sounds like a bold move to make housing more affordable. After all, rising home prices have become a major concern for many Americans. But here's the catch: what seems like a simple solution is riddled with complexities. The proposal doesn't just target corporate investors, it challenges the very mechanisms that drive the housing market. What happens when large institutional players are removed from the equation? Will it drive prices down as Trump promises, or will it simply cause new problems like reduced investment in housing or a shortage of available homes? In the end, the weave pulls in different threads: affordability, market forces, and the very role of private capital in shaping the housing landscape. The solution, like so many of Trump's proposals, is both immediate and vague, leaving us to wonder, can this work, or will it unravel before it even begins? Trump's proposals are often framed as simple solutions to complex problems, but the real question is, what's lurking beneath the surface? Take his plan for reducing interest rates by pressuring Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to buy $200 billion in mortgage bonds. On paper, it sounds like a straightforward attempt to ease the housing market, but dig a little deeper and the picture becomes less clear. By encouraging these mortgage giants to take on more risk, Trump is playing a dangerous game. While it might lower rates in the short term, the long-term effects could be disastrous. A surge in mortgage bond purchases could flood the market, destabilizing it and creating future bubbles, something the Federal Reserve has tried to avoid for years. And let's not forget the legal challenges this move could face. After all, could a presidential directive to these quasi-governmental entities even hold up in court? The weave starts to fray here. What looks like a quick fix is in reality a gamble, one that may not pay off, especially if Congress or the courts push back. The challenge is in the details, and with Trump's economic plans, those details are often left unsaid, buried beneath the flashy headlines. Just days after his housing proposal, Trump turned his attention to oil prices, announcing plans to pressure oil companies to drill more in Venezuela. The move sent shockwaves through the energy industry, where many saw it as impractical and frankly unrealistic. ExxonMobil's CEO bluntly stated that Venezuela was uninvestable, which echoed the sentiment of many in the oil sector. But Trump's response was swift and cutting. I'd probably be inclined to keep Exxon out. I didn't like their response. This comment encapsulated his leadership style: assertive, combative, and unwilling to back down. However, his vision is clouded by the reality of global geopolitics and economics. The Venezuelan oil industry is not only riddled with corruption and instability, but the costs of extraction are also far higher than in other regions. Even if Trump pressures companies to invest, they might simply refuse or worse, pull out when the going gets tough. This high-stakes gamble exposes the raw edges of Trump's economic weave. His focus on Venezuela could drive short-term political gain, but long-term, it risks alienating key players in the oil industry and deepening tensions with global allies. The weave once again shows signs of unraveling as the consequences of his actions extend far beyond American borders. At the heart of every economic proposal Trump makes lies one central question: how does this impact the average American? In his quest for more affordable housing, lower interest rates, and cheaper gas, he promises relief to a public desperate for change. But the reality is often more complicated. Take his recent call to cap credit card interest rates at 10%. On the surface, it's a relief to those burdened by high debt. But what Trump might not fully account for are the unintended consequences. Credit card companies may respond by tightening access to credit for those who need it most, raising fees, and cutting rewards. The very people Trump aims to help could find themselves on the losing end of a well-meaning but flawed policy. Trump's weave also extends to his promises of a revitalized housing market. While he aims to protect ordinary Americans from high prices, the policies may end up hurting them in ways they didn't anticipate. Fewer institutional investors could mean fewer affordable rental units, as private capital withdraws from a market that's suddenly more difficult to navigate. His proposals, though pitched as lifelines, carry risks. For every promise of relief, there's a hidden cost, one that everyday Americans might be left to bear. The question becomes, when the dust settles, who really wins? While Trump's proposals often seem aimed at solving domestic issues, their ripple effects are felt far beyond U.S. borders. Take his push for more oil drilling in Venezuela. On the surface, It's an effort to bring down gas prices for American consumers, but the global geopolitical implications are far-reaching. By pressuring U.S. companies to invest in Venezuela, Trump risks alienating key international allies who have their own interests in the region. The Venezuelan oil industry is mired in corruption and instability, and encouraging investment there could strain relations with countries that have long taken a cautious stance on the region. Moreover, pushing for more oil production in Venezuela doesn't solve the broader issue of global energy dependency. It merely shifts the source of that dependency. On a larger scale, Trump's economic proposals, whether they involve credit card companies or international oil markets, affect not just American citizens but global markets and alliances. The interconnectedness of today's economy means that decisions made in the White House don't just impact the U.S., they echo through international financial systems, energy markets, and even diplomatic relations. The world is watching, and the consequences of these actions will extend far beyond the borders of America. As we look ahead, Trump's economic proposals leave us with three potential futures. Each scenario comes with its own set of risks, rewards, and uncertainties. The future of America's economy is now intertwined with the success or failure of his weave. Scenario 1, the optimistic future. In the best-case scenario, Trump's policies somehow find their footing. His housing plan works, lowering home prices and making housing more accessible. Credit card companies comply with the cap on interest rates, providing immediate relief to consumers without long-term damage to the credit system. Oil production in Venezuela, though challenging, leads to lower gas prices, alleviating some of the financial strain on American households. The economy stabilizes and the American public begins to see the fruits of these bold proposals. Scenario 2, the neutral future. In a more middle-of-the-road outcome, some of Trump's policies show mixed results. While housing may become more affordable in certain areas, the broader housing market faces new challenges, such as a lack of investment or an uptick in rent prices. Credit card interest rates may drop temporarily, but banks find ways to offset the losses with higher fees and reduced credit limits. The push for Venezuelan oil has little impact on global energy prices, and the long-term benefits remain unclear. The economy stagnates but doesn't collapse, leaving many of Trump's promises unfulfilled but not entirely broken. Scenario 3, the pessimistic future. In the worst-case scenario, many of Trump's proposals unravel under the weight of legal, political, and economic challenges. His push to restrict institutional investors from buying homes triggers legal battles that halt the policy before it takes effect. Credit card companies limit access to credit, leaving vulnerable Americans in a worse position. The pressure on oil companies to invest in Venezuela backfires as global tensions rise and the energy market remains unstable. The economy faces a recession as Trump's weave proves to be little more than a series of disconnected promises with no real substance. The public is left grappling with the consequences of half-baked plans. As we look toward the future of America's economy, one thing is clear: Trump's weave is more than just a series of proposals. It's a vision for reshaping the nation's financial landscape. But whether that vision leads to prosperity or turmoil remains uncertain. Trump's approach, bold, brash, and unpredictable, has already made waves. His promises to lower housing prices, cap credit card interest rates, and push for more oil drilling are all part of a larger narrative. Yet the gaps in his plans, the lack of clarity, and the sheer number of untested ideas leave us wondering, can it work, or will it unravel under the weight of its own ambition? One thing is certain: we are witnessing an economic experiment like no other. The stakes are high, and the consequences are real. As we move forward, the question isn't just about whether Trump can deliver on his promises, it's about whether this weave will stand the test of time. For now, all we can do is watch, wait, and see which threads hold together and which ones fall apart. The future of America's economy is being written right before our eyes, and it's up to us to decide how we'll respond. Stay tuned, because the next chapter of this story is just beginning.